The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
So welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. My name's Karen Butts, and today I'm excited to introduce Dawood Bedrosian. Dawood moved to Orlando after earning his honours degree in business administration from Canada's University of Windsor. During the 2008 Florida market downturn, let's not talk about that, he sees the chance to market properties to Canadian investors, offering a full service solution that was tailored to foreign buyers. So Dawood has a decade of experience. He specializes in luxury resale, new developments, commercial real estate, and investment sales. He is fluent in English and Arabic, and his dedication to clients turns business into lasting relationships. So let's dive into his journey and his insights into the industry. So welcome to the show, Dawood.
Thank you, Miss Karen. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for being here. So question one is always similar because the listeners want to hear a little bit about your backstory. So what was the pivotal moment, maybe during that 2008 downturn, that inspired you to focus on marketing Florida properties to Canadian investors?
It's interesting because I think life has a funny way of having you show up in a new chapter or in a new phase in your life when you least expect it or when you're most ready for it. And the pivotal moment is, how does the phrase go? Necessity is the mother of invention. So I just happened to be working with a couple of guys at the time that used to land bank a lot of plots of land and used to sell it to national home builders, et cetera, et cetera. And they came up to me and they said, hey, you know, a lot of people. I had a previous life in hospitality, and relationships for me has been essentially my superpower. And in doing that, there was a question posed to me that said, hey, do you know anybody that would buy these properties? I tried to call everybody on my little flip Motorola StarTech phone or whatever it was back in the day. And, went down the list and called whoever I could. And unfortunately, with what I know now, I would have never asked the questions that I did then. Hey, do you want to buy a piece of land? And this is how the string of events went. Where is it? I don't know. How big is it? I don't know. Is it on the water? I don't know. Is it in America? I don't know, but let me get back to you. I didn't know anything about real estate. I just needed to solve a friend's problem. And if something came out of it, it was much better than whatever I was doing at the time, because there wasn't a whole lot going on when the world was turning upon itself during that period of time. And it just so happened through some of the many connections that we had that we were able to set up a meeting and start opening up the door for what that looked like. Ironically, the market will always tell you what its clients, buyers, customers need. And being in a city like Toronto, which is very similar to New York or Chicago, a lot of people have gone vertical by building towers and condos. So the general desire when it comes to an investment asset would be a condo. So we completely had to pivot our offering from going from land to condos. And the ironic thing that happened was, as we started to go through the process, we began to understand exactly what all the pitfalls were and what exactly people wanted. You see, you can go to any agent in the United States and have a foreign buyer come and work with them. But not every agent knows exactly what they need to do outside of the transaction to ensure that they are getting the right tax ID numbers, they're setting their entities correctly. There isn't a conflict in terms of how the entity is set up. I mean, in the States, we often purchase a property in a LLC. LLCs are not recognized in other countries. So it's understanding all of these various aspects to ensure a frictionless and smooth transaction. And as a result of it, I've managed to carve out a little bit of a niche, which I enjoy, which is working with investors, working with a lot of foreign nationals that want to come to our sunny state and come to all the excitement a city like Orlando with all the attractions it has to offer in order to have a lifestyle asset such as a short-term vacation rental, a commercial building, or better yet, just relocate here to start their business and just set their new life up, as many did after COVID.
And you've really dug out a specific niche because you're so right. If you're getting foreign investors, there's lots of nuances that they're not going to know about, and so they need to have somebody that they can trust that's going to take them through that whole process. So how do you think your background in business administration maybe influenced your approach to real estate?
We live in an economy today that is completely different, or at least on steroids compared to any other moment in time. And the best example of what I'm about to share with you is exactly what we're doing right now. We actually live in a relational economy where your voice can be heard by very, very specific audience that has a specific interest in whatever it is that you are interested in. And there's people that are trying to follow your content, the material you put out. And today, more than ever, if there was an icon of real estate or entertainment, the relationships that you can create because of platforms such as Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever, can allow you to enter rooms, speak at events, and just become an authority in a space where you can equally be as well respected as compared to, maybe a decade or two ago, where you may have to physically attend events to go and meet people, network, speak at these events, versus now it's like, you want to jump on my podcast and doing a Zoom, and we can be halfway around the world and my audience can enjoy all of these gems that you have to offer, and vice versa. And the more you keep going at it, the more the success and the doors start to open up for what's possible out there.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's an opportunity for everybody to become authority in their field, in their particular niche, in their particular area. You're right, like no other time before. I think, I'm sure I heard the stats not so long ago that even the youngsters, like 18 to 35-year-old, I say youngsters because, it's a 50-50 split now. They're not watching television. They're listening to podcasts of the people of things that they're interested. And these days, people want to know about investing, how they can get into real estate. Well, they're going to choose to listen to somebody who's got a platform. So it's such an opportunity for everyone to get their message out there. More importantly, to the people who need to hear it. It's a great place to be able to show up and serve. Love that.
Karen, one more thing. If you think about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like to add to your point, right? It's, if you turn on your TV and let's say, for example, you wanted to watch the news. For some strange reason, you like gathering your news from this one specific person. The tone of the voice, the way that they appear, the confidence, their intelligence, whatever that it may be. And I find it really interesting, especially when I work with a lot of members on our team or people that I mentor. I find it interesting how, most people stop at, I don't like the way I sound, I don't like the way that I look, I don't feel comfortable being on video. And I keep telling people all the time, people just want to hear your message. They heard what you sound like, they hear what you look, they've seen what you look like. Just show up and do the best that you can to add value, right?
I always say that it's a beautiful platform to be on because people don't like me and don't resonate with me. Guess what? They're not listening. So right. The beauty of it is you just get to show up and serve the people that do. It's just a win-win. There's no negative about it. Of that.
So true.
So can you share any kind of memorable experience with a client that showcases your dedication to building lasting relationships in real estate?
I think what changed for me in my life was I had this mentor that showed up in my life and believed in me when I think many people in my space didn't even understand what he saw was the potential in me. And he stuck with me, and he changed my life by basically saying, stop selling and become the educator. And in the process of doing that, the approach changed, the tonality changed, the information dissemination to the client changed. And like I said, because we've carved out a bit of a niche market, what ended up happening was started to create an incredibly larger platform of referral business, because wherever I went, I just came back from Las Vegas. We spoke to about 4,000 clients interested in real estate in Toronto last month. So you kind of get this moniker, the Florida guy is here, the Florida guy is here. And in the process of doing that, what we ended up realizing is people said, well, if I'm going to send my clients somewhere, being a Canadian agent, New York agent, Chicago agent, California agent, I'm going to send it to the Florida guy. He's going to take care of them. He's got it all figured out. And this one client showed up on a Zoom call because this agent that I've been working with called me incessantly for about 10 times in a row, was in a meeting or something, and he goes, can you please get on a Zoom call? I'm meeting with these guys. They want to talk to you. Spoke to them on the phone, and they were coming to Orlando the next day. Had never met them before. They were very stoic. They didn't really say a whole lot, and they showed up. And when they showed up, I picked them up from the airport. We went for a grand tour of whatever it is that they were looking at. We went to some of the coolest places to go eat and hang out as well, so that they can get a taste of what my city looks like. And they really felt as if they got that 5-star concierge level white glove service that they wanted. They didn't really say a whole lot. And at that point in time, I really truly believed in that moment in time, listen, maybe they're not interested in this market, maybe whatever. We had a really nice dinner, and the next day, just before they were leaving to go to the airport, it was like, okay, so this is our game plan. I'm going to buy 2 in this community. I'm going to buy 3 in this community. I'm going to buy 1 or 2 in this other community. And Karen, I promise you, every single time they've come to visit, they have picked up a property here to build out a portfolio of close to 15, 20 properties right now. But the game changer was this. When their kids want to come and watch Messi play in Orlando, I was the one that was taking care of those kiddos. And when the parents came and they wanted to come and have a good time and unwind with us, I'm cooking for them at the house. So we're going out to some cool places and sharing some great experiences, because it's all about the relationship. The relationship is the currency in the economy that we live in.
Yes. I mean, you said it earlier. We have definitely moved, I feel, from purely a transactional place where, if I'm honest, I think this is why realtors in the past have had a bit of a negative rap, because they have been perceived in the past as all about the transaction. It's about the numbers, and maybe people didn't feel heard and they didn't feel listened to, but what you've just shared there is just a prime example of how things have changed and how important it is for people who are looking to be as successful as you. When they flip it in their own head, that they're not just trying to sell, but they're actually showing up to serve and build on those relationships. I'm sure you can see even the way you were describing your face lit up, that actually it was about the experience of, that's come off of these transactions that is going to stay with you for life. And it's just proven in your stats that has turned into long-term extra transactions. So it's thinking about the long term rather than, I think in the past, people were just so transactional about what's in front of them. So I think you're a fantastic inspiration for many realtors out there. Man, it's time to switch from this transactional nature to building relationships. Awesome. So do you have any unique insights that you've gained from your more international experience that you believe that have set you up in the Orlando market?
I went down a path during COVID that was purely, I don't know, it was almost like manifestedly created on the one part, but it was also, opportunity meeting preparedness. We all sat down at the house watching our phones and a podcast or somebody doing some live event or whatever it was going on, because that's how people connected with people. And I, as I mentioned to you earlier, reached out to a friend of mine and asked her to be on our podcast. And she goes, "Hey, I'm going to do something better for you than doing the podcast. Why don't I get you your own radio show?" And I was a little nervous because I didn't know that I could share enough content in an hour and sit there and really be the expert or the authority. But the more you lean into it, the more you start to be with it, the more you become great at it. And what changed was I started to get a lot of really incredible high profile guests. And I would always ask the same question every single time. "Karen, I really enjoyed doing this interview with you. Is there anybody in your ecosphere you want me to connect with that you think I can like add some value or just like really show up for them in their life?" And everybody would give me somebody else. And everybody would say, "Hey, go talk to so-and-so." And one of the gentlemen that was on my show wrote a book called Passive Prospecting. And the book is incredible in so many different ways because, one of the things that in our business, you would think, you should really be great at this. But to be honest with you, at this point in time, I'm going to like pull the veil back and kind of really let you in on a little secret here. I don't really go to listing appointments anymore. And it doesn't make sense if you're picking up listings, right? And the reason why I say that is because the amount of YouTube and Instagram and other content that we put out there, people don't need to interview you anymore. They've already screened you out and they are like, "This is the guy that I want to work with. I saw what he puts out. I want him to do it for me." And a perfect example is what happened about 3 weeks ago. I got this random phone call from somebody that was in Orlando. And he says, "Hey, my name is Chris. And if you have a few minutes, I would like to come and meet you." And I said, "Sure." And I kind of thought it was a little bit of a weird, scammy kind of call because who's this guy? How do you know me? And he literally said, I saw your videos on YouTube because I was looking to sell my home on the market. And you have produced some really beautiful content. And I looked you up and it seems like you knew what you were doing and you've done a lot of sales in these areas and you're an expert in, for example, short-term vacation rentals, because that's a part of a really strong asset class in our market based on all the attractions that we have. And it was essentially that video that did it all. And of course, I went there with a report to try and explain everything and give him some content. Really wasn't interested. The minute he saw me and he felt comfortable with me, he goes, "Yeah, so when can you come and shoot the video and send me whatever paperwork I need to sign it up?" And I was a bit nervous because our market has changed in the last year. Things slowed down, interest rates went up, all this kind of stuff. And you go, who wants a vacation rental because it's a luxury good when you're facing inflation and recession? But the truth of the matter is, maybe these are the economical pressures that we're feeling in our country or in North America. But the truth of the matter is, the person who came to buy an almost $1 million property was a Brazilian and bought it cash. So if you're able to tap into different markets, you'll always be able to assist somebody by adding some value for them. And, they really wanted this house because it's on the water. They wanted to celebrate their kid's 8th birthday going to Disney. They wanted to use the house before they put it into some kind of a program. And if you're able to solve those kind of problems, what's left to be done?
So it's all about diversifying.
Yeah.
Don't just rely on the one market.
And really inventing what's possible, right? I like to call myself a possibility engineer because I always believe out of a blank canvas, what's possible? Everything.
Brilliant. Well, it's all about mindset. So it shows clearly that you have that growth mindset. When people are just focusing on the negative and worried about this and worried about inflation and worried about it's an election year, nothing's going to sell. It's about looking for the opportunities. So for people who may be struggling out there in their little part of the world, of the United States, would you like to share with the listeners a little bit of, well, what's happened with you having all these different things that you're working on? You've got the rentals, you've got land, you've got commercial. What kind of transactions did you do, say, last year? How has it been working over in Orlando?
So it's been really interesting. And I think what a lot of people kind of also fail to understand when you're operating from a transactional perspective is that there's so many different ways that you can leverage what you're doing by just changing the way that you do things. And one of my favorite quotes is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Wayne Dyer.
Yes, one of my favorites. Doing these deals, we ended up working on a development site called the Azure Resort down the street from Disney, 9 minutes away. Short-term vacation rental property, 3 to 6 bedroom townhomes with private pools in the back of the 4, 5s, and 6s, and jacuzzis in the back of the 3 bedrooms. Really great price point and so on and so forth. But the most challenging time to sell it, where people can't travel to use a vacation rental, they can't come and see it because they can't get on a plane and leave their home. And how do you go out and try and sell that kind of inventory that's pre-construction to people that are not here, sitting behind a computer somewhere around the world? But we figured it out. And we were able to tap into a lot of different networks to be able to work with their investors. And I'm the biggest proponent of give away as much referral money as you can in order to piggyback and leverage those kind of new relationships where the agent in whatever respective city or country is there, they're essentially your marketing arm now. They're the ones driving the traffic. And I always tell people this all the time. I teach a class called How to Expand Your Farm Area Without Ever Really Leaving Your Desk. And really what the model is how do you become an international agent? How do you prepare offerings for your clients that don't even see you as the person or the authority on it? I'll give you an example. You go to a city like Toronto that has an incredible number of agents. I think there's like 200 agents for every buyer or something out there in that market. And how do you stand out in a crowd? So you start to figure out what you're good at. Some people will start to do pre-construction, and that's really great because if you have a database that you can nurture and network, and if you're an authority in the space, then you become the voice for, let's say, for example, Orlando properties. And if people were interested, as the trend has gone in the last few years when it comes to short-term rentals, for example, then they understand that, hey, you're covering some cool material about that. You're doing some incredible house tours with James Bond themed homes with Rolls Royces in the movie theater rooms that you're slipping into. It's actually the front end of a car. Or, one of the clients is in the Air Force and they just love airplanes. So the designer goes out and gets a 64-foot retired Puma helicopter that served in Afghanistan, cut the back end of the helicopter and have the kids walk into the garage and use the actual physical prop as a flight simulator. And then you go, where's the front of this helicopter? So you go about looking through the home, and one of the bedrooms, you have this beautiful cockpit that the kids can come and play video games and watch TV while the bunk beds are right behind them. So it's
Wow.
really just kind of changing the way things are done and how you present it to people. And I think what really changed for us was, we were able to line up a number of transactions that we had worked on. So we sowed the seeds and we just waited for the rewards that we could reap out of our efforts. And then the truth of the matter is success breeds success. So, and it leaves clues, like Tony Robbins says all the time. And there's people out there that are watching you. And what I've come to realize is, listen, nobody's really going to give you a break unless they see something in you that they would really like to have and use within their own life experience, company, business, adding to the portfolio, and so on and so forth. And the more that you start to see that, then they'll come up to you and they're like, hey, I know you did this land deal. Can you help us buy some more properties down here? I know you did this for someone else. Can you come and do this with us? Can you show us how to do this? And even if you don't come and work with them, you can still be a consultant for them. So I think if you just change your perspective, focus on education, add value, the opportunities will arise. Be open to the possibilities of what may be. Get out of your own way. I think we are the only thing that stops us every single time. And just trust in the process, trust in the universe, trust in God, trust in whatever you want to believe in. And just have some faith that it's going to happen.
Oh, fantastic insights. That's amazing. I'm sure the listeners are going to appreciate all that. So, well, Dawood, what's next? What's next for you? What are your goals for next year?
Yeah, I'm starting to definitely realize it's so funny that we're having this conversation because thanks to you, Karen, I actually have clarity on everything that I think I've been working on that I didn't even realize till I've articulated it or crystallized it into what I'm about to share with you. So I feel honored that I'm able to share this with you in particular. I think what you come to realize is once you get to a place where you can add some value, you have the trust from the people that can work with you. I think the next stage in real estate, and this is a little cheeky, but one of the guys that I used to work for said, hey, if you go out and work really hard this year, I'm going to be able to go out and buy another Ferrari next year. And it really kind of stuck to me because I was like, that's not nice. And then what you come to realize is he said, you don't get it. You create a lifestyle doing transactions. You create a life owning real estate. And he'd always say, income follows assets. Income follows assets. So if you start to understand that the natural progression of how people kind of evolve into stuff, it's really easy because this is going to be probably one of the juiciest parts here. When we all start off, we trade time for money. We work at a job and we're getting paid for the hours that we're working. And that's great. The next level up is to organize a team and be a manager, a regional manager, a team leader if you're in real estate. And now you can piggyback off of the efforts of other people while guiding them, adding value, and making them powerhouses. The level up from there is using this guy. It's being able to communicate and share a message with people, because that's the game changer from going to, a job where you can max out at a certain level, 100 grand, 200 grand, $500,000, whatever the case may be. Even if you're an executive at a company, there's a cap to what you could do outside of whatever bonus incentives that you're getting. But when you're able to communicate, you can speak to the world, and the world will come to you if you can add value to them. And the way that you reach the pinnacle of that mountain, which is what wealthy people do, is they have these assets produce income for them. And their job is to put these assets in essentially the maternity ward to make income for them consistently and have it work for you. So there's many different ways in which you can start to leverage your relationships that you've created with your clients over the last decade or two, and maybe start shifting the focus into investments, pulling together, a group of funds to be able to go out and buy whatever asset classes you may like. Some people like multifamily, some people like medical offices and medical retail, some people like plazas, some people like redevelopment. I think you need to find out who you are, find that lane and run with it. But change the way you're doing business today, because if people believe in you, all you need to do is find a couple of people with deep pockets that can support you, because as you help other people make money, you naturally can make money with them. And more so than that, they want to pull you up with them and say, hey, we're doing this. We want you involved in this. And they'll let you into rooms that you will never be able to get into, and opportunities that you will never be able to receive just because you're not in the know.
Oh, there you go. What a fantastic end. And that just so true. You just do not know the opportunities that can arise when you change this from transactional to relationship building. Thank you so much for your time today, Dawood. So right at the end, we normally ask you If you had your own podcast, what would you call it? But you already have one. And the reason we ask that is because here at Icons, we're not just a podcast. We're not just a podcast production company, but we are the #1 real estate podcast network. And we want to make podcasting. This is what we're passionate about. We want to make podcasting accessible to everybody involved in the real estate. You've just heard from Dawood how this has helped his business. He already has a podcast. So would you like to share with the listeners where they can find it? What is it called?
Absolutely. So it's called Real Sense now, and the name came about because we wanted to give people a real sense of what was going on out there. You hear advice from your friends and people that think that they're real estate experts, but they're not. And it's a really great way to share that information. So the podcast can be found on all podcasting platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, et cetera. And of course, if you just want to tap into some smaller bite content, it's always easy to just jump on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, or whatever other platform that we're on. Just type in my name, Dawood Bedrosian, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of really beautiful tidbits to enjoy and some cool house tours to check out. And more importantly, you can get to learn about myself and our market.
Fantastic. Once again, thank you for your time today, Dawood. And to the listeners, I will be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.